tonight is a special night because we're doing a favorite paper for our community empowerment project, and particularly Susan's favorite paper. I always think of it as Susan's paper, and she's going to talk about it a little bit, and I'm hoping all of us will talk about it and see what it means to us. But this was a paper that was not published, and probably Jean would have, spiffed it up a bit, made it a little bit more formed in some places if it was published. But there's something that's very intimate about hearing his ideas as an unpublished paper. His ideas about this, what I'm calling revolutionary relating. His optimism about humankind going in the direction of more and more complex, connected relating. It's such a wonderful message, isn't it? I mean, so many times we sort of get the message or give ourselves the message or feel the message that we're going to hell in a handbasket, in our societies. And it's a wonderful perspective to think this is all part of an evolutionary process. And Jean's encouragement, like, don't get discouraged if you're having a hard time here. This is new. And his putting it in the context of how people didn't even, regular, ordinary people didn't think about relating very much. We were responsive to our roles in society. And so taking on the challenge of relating from who you really are to other people is a brand new thing that we're just learning something about how to do. So, of course, this is the core or the key to our big project, which is finding out how focusing can contribute to having communal conversations across difference, how it can help us to polarize, to heal the polarizations, how it can help real communication to happen among us and between us, all of us. So to put it in a context, our big project is to see how focusing can help community life. And we started with evocative listening, which is a whole different sort of slant on listening. Listening, as we talked about, not to respond, listening not to make a point, not to win an argument, not to prove that your way is the right way, but listening to evoke the more, to evoke the life force, to evoke the complexity, to evoke the point that the person is trying to get to beneath or above their content, what they know how to say, their acculturation maybe. So we had a wonderful first session about that, and then we broadened that to how community can listen to an individual. And Nati helped us with that, and Susan. All of our ways of being evoked by what one person is sharing, and how that expands and complexifies and knits this wonderful network, this wonderful web of connection. And then we took another step to see how we can listen to the group, not just to the individual, but to the flow of conversation in the us, and the different skills that are involved in listening, not only to what each person is saying, but to the flow and to what is emerging in the group, for the group, through each person, that each person is an ingredient of this us that's coming into its own. And so now we want to talk about, well, listening to the individual, listening as a group, listening to the group. That's all very, very central, fundamental. But what Jean is sort of calling revolutionary relating is not just about listening, but it's also about speaking. And listening to ourselves when we're speaking, right? Relating to ourselves as well as to the others. And so tonight we're going to see what this paper of Jean's has to offer us about this territory of what I'm calling speaking from and speaking to. Speaking not just from the top of your head, right? But speaking from what's really there. Speaking from the felt sense. Not speaking about something already, what you know, but speaking from what's there for you. And the speaking to. You're not just speaking out, right? Which is important to do, to speak out sometimes, right? But this is speaking to the other, speaking to the others. And Jean says so beautifully in this paper, we don't only want to express ourselves, we want to express ourselves to another human being or other human beings. We want that interactive aliveness that we are. And we can tell the moment that it happens, right? When somebody says something that is from this place and it's to us, like Trevor before, when we were just greeting each other before we started, and you said that you were speaking from your felt sense, and that we then broke out into breakout rooms, and there wasn't an opportunity for anybody to reflect or to acknowledge what you said, and that it felt like, how could you have the feeling in that moment of belonging when you're not being responded to? And that I could feel the sort of excitement when somebody is speaking from an experience to us. And then we're not going to talk about that so much tonight, but we'll talk about it in the future, of the next step of speaking from us to us, about us, which Trevor was doing. What I call talking about you and me, talking not only from what's there for me to you, but talking about the us and how we're relating in the moment. And there's an aliveness and an excitement and an intimacy of that. Marvin said at the beginning, well, when do you feel like you belong in a group? And one thing that I was thinking of is when you can talk about the you and me of something. There's, for me, that sense of, oh, now we belong together. We can talk about us. And in all the romantic movies for Valentine's Day, I was watching all these romantic movies. I feel like I should apologize for that or do something about that, but I won't. I did do that on Valentine's Day, and I'm not going to apologize. But in all those movies, when the when the person can talk about the you and me of a relationship, there's this huge shift and this sense of connection and belonging. Oh, we belong together. We could work this out. And that's what we want in our group here, is to be able to talk about the you and me, and to be able to feel that excitement of that little bit of risk when you're not risking too much where you're over the edge, but you're not safely in your own spot, but you're taking a little risk there for this revolutionary relationship.